Okay, everybody, this is Joseph P. Farrell. We are back with Take 3, Part 2 of News and Views from the Nefarium for March 14th, 2013. Now, in Part 1, I was talking about South Africa and its formation of a BRICs think tank and how these think tanks are going to be increasingly involved with analyzing the power structure of the West and critiquing it, all right, with increasingly effective exposés, let's call them that. Now, with that in mind, I asked you in part one to put that context, that BRICS context, around this second article, which appeared on March 13th. So, in other words, a day apart from the South African BRICS announcement, we get this article on a website called Strategic Culture Foundation. This is, I believe, a kind of Russian internet think tank, all right? The article is by one Valentin Katasonov, who has a doctorate in science in economics, all right, in Russia. And listen to the title of the article. This alone will tell you something very interesting is up. It's called The Parallel World of Finances. And I want to read 3 paragraphs from this article because what Katasonov is actually saying is the very same thing that I've been saying not only in my blogs about the bearer bond scandals, but more recently in Covert Wars and Breakaway Civilizations, that there is an enormous, huge, completely hidden, and almost completely fraudulent and illegal system of finance in the Western world that has largely been the creation of Western and particularly American intelligence as a political slush fund for covert operations. Listen to what Katasonov says, quote, "The invisible financial world is something the majority of people have no idea of. The major part of it is the shadow sector of world financial systems, financial institutes and financial operations conducted under the cover of offshores and falling out of the sight of financial regulators, EDMEST, central banks, ministries of finance, securities and exchange commissions, etc. One can only guess how large it is. There is no way to have a clear picture of what it is like because all the activities are conducted beyond any supervision. No books are kept, no accounting before state structures exists. The world dwellers are criminal gangs related to drug trafficking, arms trade, and listen carefully, slave trade, and so on. It's not even gray sector activities, but rather a black economy breaching all norms of penal law. According to experts, the turnover is a few $1,000,000,000 a year. Besides this, the shadow sector encompasses various structures that do not hide underground. Many of them openly offer various services to individuals and corporations." Unquote. Pardon me. Now I'm going to skip a little bit and read from the second and third paragraphs, or pardon me, the third and fourth paragraphs at the opening of the article. Listen carefully to what this Russian economist is saying. Quote, "The last financial crisis was of much greater depth and scale, actually involving the whole world, and duration due to the unrestrained growth of the shadow sector. Many experts think the crisis is not over, it was just the first wave." Unquote. And now continuing, quote, "The invisible world is not limited by a shadow sector only. A part of it may be called clandestine." And there he's now put his finger on what's been going on and what I've been saying in the blogs about the bearer bond scandals and more recently in Covert Wars and Breakaway Civilizations. "The clandestine financial world is diversified. No one knows all about it. It's a mixture of various financial relationships and agreements hidden away from peoples, parliaments, official financial institutions, and international organizations. The secret international agreements are the best example. And listen to what he's now citing as the basis, the historical basis for this hidden system of finance. Some of them have surfaced to public view, for instance, the financial accords between the United States, Great Britain, and Hitler's Germany. There are more numerous examples of secret accords between private structures. For instance, traditionally, banks have been concluding cartel agreements in flagrant violation of antitrust laws. It's enough to remember the 2012 row when it was discovered that the largest banks were in collusion and manipulated LIBOR interest rates, unquote. Now, as if that's not enough, there's something very significant that this Russian economist also states in this article. And again, I want you to view this article as kind of yet another example of a BRICS nation, in this case Russia, analyzing and critiquing the structures of power in the West. And in this case, we have a Russian economist, a doctor of economics, coming right out and saying essentially the same thing as I've been saying, that there's a hidden system of finance. It's huge. It's almost completely fraudulent. It's totally off the books. It's completely out of control. And it's this system that's been set up and more or less run by the intelligence agencies of the West that is really what is propelling the financial crisis. In other words, the banksters have lost control. That's something that most people don't get. They may be involved in this system, but they're not the ones driving the vehicle anymore. All right, that's the problem. So you're dealing with a covert apparatus. Now, what's very interesting to me is that this Russian economist, on the second page of his article, comes right out and cites the bearer bond scandals as examples of this hidden structure of finance and as examples of its historical roots in the World War II era. So in other words, he is saying and seeing the same thing with all of this as I am, and what he's really doing is he's saying that these bearer bond scandals represent and are somehow tied to that hidden, clandestine, shadow financial world. All right? And he comes right out and he cites the Japanese bearer bond scandal, the Italian bearer bond scandal, and the Spanish bearer bond scandal, and does so in the same context. So, folks, what I want to point out, and what I'm driving at here, is watch these BRICS nations now very carefully. We're going to hear more, not less, of these nations analyzing these events and putting out their analysis on the internet. We're going to hear more, not less, of people not only like Hugo Chavez, but perhaps even more prominent leaders in the BRICS nations coming out and accusing the West of things like poisoning people with cancer and causing earthquakes with technology and so on and so forth. The BRICS nations are serving notice, long-term notice, incidentally, that thereafter they're aware of this system of finance. They're no longer going to play ball, and now they're going to try and strategize ways to get out of the mess that this has put everyone into. It's going to be a very interesting period to watch, folks. So keep it right here. God bless you all for your prayers, for your support, all the articles that you've been sending me, and I'll see you on the flip side, everybody. Bye-bye.